Gemini, facing the lies you tell yourself on the path to truly knowing yourself. Gemini, you are the storyteller of the zodiac, and your words can weave silk or spin webs. You charm rooms, bridge worlds, translate the ineffable into something the rest of US can hold. Yet there's a quieter craft you've been studying since childhood, the subtle art of telling stories to yourself. Some of those stories are medicine. They keep you moving when life gets heavy. Others are fog. They blur your edges and scatter you from the truth you ache to touch. This isn't about calling you a liar. It's about honoring that every human carries protective narratives, and your agile mercurial mind is simply very good at making them sound convincing. If you long to feel less restless, less split between versions of you, if you crave choices that feel clean instead of clever, this is your rite of passage. We will name the tender fictions that keep your wheels spinning, trace where they began, and gently turn them into liberating truths. Not through shame, not through force, but through the kind of intimate honesty that calms your nervous system and returns you to the one relationship no Gemini can outsource, the one you have with yourself. If these words feel like home, stay. If they sting, even better. Stings show us where the medicine goes. And if this work meets you where you are, share it, subscribe, and pass the lantern to another twin walking their way back to clarity. Gate 1. Gemini. The first step is learning to hear the tone of your inner narrator. Your sign's gift is multiplicity. You can see 3 angles before others notice one. That same gift can become camouflage when you're tired, afraid, or ashamed. A handful of recurring self-stories show up again and again in Gemini lands. I'm fine is the oldest. It rides on a bright laugh and a quick pivot, wrapping overwhelm in a sentence that ends a conversation before it begins. It started the first time big feelings arrived and the room wasn't ready. The child in you learned to speak faster than you felt, to narrate instead of need. I'm fine is not a lie born of malice. It's a spell of survival. But every spell has a cost. When I'm fine becomes your default. The body never gets to complete a cycle, and your mind carries a backlog in loops of late-night thought. Another favorite is, if I choose, I'll lose everything else. You love options like oxygen. They help you breathe. Somewhere along the line, choosing felt like self-betrayal, so you created an elegant fiction. Postponement equals freedom. It does for a while. But decisions delayed become decisions made by gravity, and then you wake inside a life assembled by drift, not devotion. There's also, I'm only lovable when I'm interesting. This story is sneaky because it often made you beloved in the first place. Your sparkle won attention. Your synthesis won praise. But when novelty becomes the price of belonging, stillness feels like failure, and you forget that quiet you is worthy too. Then there's feelings are data, not destinations. On your best days, this is wisdom. It keeps you from drowning. On hard days, it's a dodge. You analyze sadness until it evaporates into theory and never touches the tongue. Finally, I'll fix me later. Gemini's hope is gorgeous, but hope without anchoring becomes deferral dressed as optimism. You promise yourself that the next book, the next routine, the next season will hold the discipline you somehow can't give today, and the calendar fills with versions of you who never got to happen. Notice how none of these are villainous. They each protected you at a time when you needed protection. The work is not to beat yourself up for using them. The work is to thank them and retire them when they're costing more than they're saving. Start by catching them in the wild. When I'm fine arrives, pause and add 2 words. I'm fine and tender. When if I choose, I'll lose shows up, answer with if I choose, I'll find. When I must be interesting buzzes, place a hand on your chest and say, I am lovable when I'm quiet. Listen to what happens in your breath. Your body has been waiting to hear you tell the truer story. Track origins with compassion. Maybe a parent adored your wit, but went cold around tears. Maybe teachers loved your answers, but dismissed your slowness. Maybe peers rewarded your pivot, but mocked your depth. The child did math. Brightness buys safety. Let the days you do new math. Truth buys peace. Take 10 minutes to write a short scene from your childhood where one of these stories was born. End it by walking into the room as the adult you are now. Kneel beside that small self. Say the words nobody said then. Promise to care nobody could offer. And then, most important, Pick one micro action your adult self will take this week that proves the promise is real. You can't think your way out of an old spell. You enact your way free. Remember, too, that lies shrink in daylight. Share one protective story with a safe person, not for advice, just for witnessing. I tell myself I'm fine when I'm afraid you'll leave. I avoid choosing because I'm terrified of grief. I crack jokes when I want to cry. Watch how shame loosens when a second nervous system meets yours with warmth. You are not a fraud. You are a human who learned to be fast. We will teach your system that slow is safe now. That is how the fog lifts, not by force, but by enough sun. Gate 2. Naming the story is tender, Gemini. Unlearning it is relational. Your mind will try to do this alone with a new set of rules. Resist the urge to turn honesty into a performance. Instead, build a practice of truth that is paced, body-based, and merciful. Begin with the simplest instrument you own, breath. 3 times a day, set a quiet cue. When you pour water, when you step outside, when you sit down. In that moment, inhale through your nose for 4, exhale through your lips for 6, and ask one question: what am I actually feeling? Let the first answer be messy. Don't refine it into poetry. If nothing comes, name sensation. My chest is tight. My jaw is loud. Sensation is feeling's doorway. You can walk through without needing the perfect word. Next, practice the 90-second truth. Pick one small area where fog loves to gather. Your calendar, your inbox, your plate. When someone asks for your time, resist the auto yes. Say, let me check and get back to you. Then walk away, breathe, and answer this trio. Do I want this? Do I have capacity? What will it cost future me? Whatever answer you send next is truer already. Or when you reach for your phone to numb, pause for 90 seconds and ask, what is the need under this click? If it's novelty, give yourself a tiny new thing with intention. 3 minutes outside, 1 paragraph of a fresh book, a song you loved at 13. If it's comfort, pick comfort instead of content. T, softness, a hand over your heart. Honesty often means redirecting the same impulse toward a need it can actually feed. Bring truth to your language gently. Retire filler phrases that leak your power. I don't know, maybe kind of just replace them with clean edges. I think, I feel, I'm choosing, not today. This is not about becoming blunt. It's about letting your words carry the weight of your intention, so your body doesn't have to hold the ambiguity. Your nervous system will relax when your mouth matches your insides. Try a daily pocket of radical congruence. For 10 minutes speak and act at the same pace as your breath. If you must slow your sentences to fit your lungs, you're doing it right. Expect the backlash. Protective stories rarely retire quietly. The moment you start choosing, scarcity will hiss, what about all the paths you killed? Answer it with ritual grief. Write a short thank you note to the roads you're not taking. Name what they taught you. Place the note in a drawer. Light a candle and close the drawer slowly. Grief metabolized becomes fuel. Grief ignored becomes static. Or when you drop the interesting equals lovable story, boredom anxiety will flare. Schedule intentional dullness. Fold laundry without audio. Stare out a window for 5 minutes. Eat one meal in silence. Let the child discover that nothing bad happens when nothing happens. Boredom is often the hallway to desire. If you sprint past it, you never hear what calls your name. Invite one person into your practice. Tell them the exact sentences you're replacing. Ask them to mirror you when you drift. You just said, I'm fine. Want to try again? Choose someone who doesn't turn everything into lessons. Witnessing is a medicine. Rescue is not. And when you fail, which you will, celebrate the catch, not the misstep. I noticed a story mid-sentence today. That is a win. Truth is a muscle. Muscles grow by being used, not by being judged. Finally, ground your honesty in small, story commitments. Instead of, I'll be authentic this year, choose, I'll answer one hard email each Tuesday morning with my first draft breath still in my body. Instead of, I'll choose faster, try by Friday at noon, I'll choose one of the 2 options and treat the other with ritual thanks. Build a scaffolding your future self can actually climb. Clever plans are candy. Simple plans are bread. Feed yourself bread. Gate 3. Facing self-made fog is only half the alchemy, Gemini. The rest is turning it into light that can guide you. Every protective story contains a seed of a truer, kinder sentence. Your task is to extract it and plant it somewhere it can grow. Start with translations. I'm fine becomes I'm functioning and I'm also feeling. This allows you to keep moving while staying in contact with your heart. If I choose, I'll lose becomes if I choose, I'll find depth. Options are meadow, paths are forests. Meadows feed wonder. Forests teach belonging. You need both, but only one makes a home. I must be interesting to be loved becomes I am loved when I am honest. Honesty is seldom flashy, but it is exquisitely magnetic to the right people. Feelings are data, not destinations becomes feelings are messengers at rest when delivered. And I'll fix me later becomes I'll give myself one true thing today. Make these translations visible. Write the old story on the left side of the page, the new truth on the right, and draw a bridge between them. On the bridge, write a behavior that embodies a new truth. Old, I'm fine. New, I'm functioning and feeling. Bridge, when asked how I am, I name one sensation and one emotion. Old, if I choose, I'll lose. New, if I choose, I'll find depth. Bridge, I set a decision date and goodbye ritual. Old, interesting equals love. New, honesty equals love. Bridge, I tell one unglamorous truth each day. Post a page where your eyes can't miss it. Your mind follows your eyes. Your life follows your mind. Practice truth in place. Pick the settings where your stories usually bloom. First dates, team meetings, family dinners, social media. Design tiny scripts beforehand. For dates, I get excited and talk fast. Feel free to ask me to slow down. For meetings, I'm going to offer one idea and one question, then stop even if more sparkle is ready. For family, I want to share something without advice right now. For social media, I will post something true, but not perform pain. Pre-deciding protects your tender self from the moment's momentum and trains your nervous system to recognize the shape of honesty even under bright lights. Honor your body as a co-author. The tongue can outpace the torso. Let your ribcage have editorial power. Before you answer, feel your feet. Before you commit, feel your belly. If either goes cold or tight, say, I need a moment. If warmth spreads or breath deepens, say, yes. This is not mysticism. It's mammals being mammals. Your body is a faster fact-checker than your brain. When you're anxious, borrow its wisdom liberally. Turn truth into intimacy. Invite the people who matter into your translations. I'm practicing not being impressive. If I start performing, will you squeeze my hand? I'm learning to choose. If I wobble, will you remind me of what I said I want? Co-regulation is not dependency. It's good engineering. Bridges are safer when more than one pillar holds a span. Expect identity molting. When the fog lifts, you may miss your old shimmer. That's normal. You were praised for being weightless. Becoming rooted will feel at first like a loss of altitude. But watch what arrives. Longer laughter, fewer spirals. Decisions that age well. Relationships that feel like exhale. The right people won't mourn your quieter radiance. They'll find you more. And the right opportunities won't require the fast-talking version of you to qualify. They'll want the true one. Anchor your progress with a monthly review ritual. Choose a quiet hour near a new or full moon. List 3 protective stories you caught, 3 truths you practiced, 3 places honesty made life simpler. Then write one question for the month ahead that requires courage to answer. Tape it somewhere modest, inside a cabinet near your kettle. Let mundane moments brush against holy work. That's how change lasts. Not by living in retreat, but by letting the kitchen witness your becoming. Gate 4. Gemini. Truth changes everything when it moves from private practice to public life. It is one thing to catch your stories at your desk, and another to carry clean language into rooms that once rewarded your gloss. This is where courage meets craftsmanship. Begin by choosing your arenas wisely. Not every space has earned your rawness, and discernment is not dishonesty. You are not obligated to offer unfiltered interior weather to every passerby. You are invited to align your outer speech with your inner knowing at a level of intimacy that is appropriate to the moment. That alignment is the heart of integrity. When you walk into work, let integrity look like accuracy. Say what you see, name what you need to perform well, and ask the questions that keep projects honest. When you walk into family gatherings, let integrity look like boundaries that are specific in kind. I'm happy to talk about my plans in general. I'm not available for play-by-plays or debate. And when you walk into love, let integrity look like pacing. Reveal yourself in chapters you can actually sustain, rather than a prologue designed to impress. The fastest way back into fog is overpromising. The surest way into clarity is keeping pace with your breath. You will feel the difference in your nervous system immediately. There is an advanced Gemini move that will save you years. Pre-decide your true standards. Choose 3 lines you will not cross, not for charm, not for conflict avoidance, not for applause. I won't say yes when my body says no. I won't pretend I'm okay to avoid a feeling. I won't make myself smaller so someone else can stay comfortable. These are not slogans. They are rails. When a moment heats up, you don't negotiate your values. You ride the rails you laid on a calm day. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, self-trust compounds, and the old stories lose both audience and funding. You will meet tests. Someone will prefer the previous edition of you, the breezy improviser, the endless option keeper, the life of the room who never asked the room to hold life back. Expect their disappointment, and don't mistake it for your mistake. Their sadness is real. Your clarity is too. Offer compassion without capitulation. I know the change is noticeable. I'm practicing moving slower and being more direct. I still care. I'm just caring in a way I can live with tomorrow. If they cannot or will not meet you there, let that truth be information, not indictment. Gemini's growth often requires releasing the echo chambers that kept the old narrative alive. That is not betrayal. That is evolution. Make truth easier by designing your environment. Put friction in the path of your fog habits and grease in the path of your clarity habits. If your story blooms at midnight on glowing screens, move your charge to the hallway and leave a paper notebook by the bed. If overpromising starts in your calendar, switch to visual time blocks so you can see that next Tuesday already has a body. If avoidance hides your inbox, create a 2-minute truths label and clear it each morning before any other mails. You are not weak for needing rails and rituals. You are wise for giving your better self the gentlest runway. Bring the sacred into the practical. Before a high-stakes conversation, step away for 60 seconds and put your palm on a wall, a tree, or your own sternum. Feel something solid. Speak your name quietly, then 1 sentence of intent. I choose clean words. Enter the room as someone accompanied. Afterward, close the loop. Stand somewhere private, exhale longer than you think you need, and say, "We did it." Celebration teaches your body that truth is survivable, even pleasurable. Pleasure is sticky. The system repeats what feels good. Truth will also ask you to welcome silence. For a Gemini, silence can feel like failure. No wit, no weave, no bridge. But honest silence is not absence. It is presence at rest. Practice letting a question hang for 3 breaths before answering. Watch how often the other person softens. How often your truer sentence arrives on the 4th breath. In rooms where speed is currency, slowness is a quiet revolution. It makes space for other people's truths to arrive, too, and when they do, your relationships stop being performances and begin being conversations. Finally, apprentice yourself to repair. Even with all this care, you will miss your mouth and say a thing the old way. The difference now is not perfection. It is speed of return. I said that like the previous me. Let me try again. This simple move turns missteps into intimacy. It shows others your process and gives them permission to have one. You, who once felt you had to be interesting to be loved, will learn that being in process is where love settles in. You don't have to be a finished story. You only have to be a truthful narrator. Gate 5, Gemini. The horizon of this work is not simply fewer lies. It is a life that is breathtakingly coherent. Coherence is when your days rhyme with your values. When this week would make sense of the version of you who wrote last week's promise. when your curiosity serves your calling instead of siphoning it. To live coherently as a Gemini is to master the both slash in both wonder and devotion, both options and odes, both the messenger and the message. The way there is not grand drama, it is small fidelity. Choose one arena, health, money, love, art, and become ceremonially simple inside it for 90 days. Not austere, not joyless, simple. One nourishing breakfast you repeat. One spending boundary you honor. One relational ritual you keep, no matter what, like a weekly walk or a device-free dinner. 1 hour each Thursday that belongs to the thing you say you are. Each kept appointment tells the nervous system, we are who we say we are. The thrill you use to chase by diversifying can be met in equal measure by deepening. Depth, it turns out, is wildly interesting when it is yours. Let your curiosity become a lighthouse rather than a disco ball. A disco ball throws light everywhere and illuminates nothing for long. A lighthouse turns, yes, but it turns around a fixed point and keeps sailors alive. Pick a theme for a season: communication, ecology, grief literacy, the history of myth, and explore it from many angles. Read, walk, talk, make, listen, teach. Let your intelligence spiral inward like a shell. When new tempting topics knock, don't exile them. Give them a later list with a real revisit date. Momentum loves respect. It stays when it knows you will not abandon it for the next glitter. Coherence also means making peace with limits. Every honest life includes loss. The paths not taken, the faces that don't stay, the versions of you that were scaffolding and not structure. Give them a place. A small box of relics. A photo you do not hide. A paragraph that begins, if I had gone that way. Name the gifts that road gave even as you turned. Grief metabolizer comes to summit. You stop needing every door to stay open to feel free. Your freedom moves from infinite options to infinite presence with the option you chose. That is the graduate seminar of Gemini. Surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when you speak plainly. Notice who leans when you say, I'm afraid, I'm choosing this. I was wrong, I'm learning to be slower. These are your weatherproof companions. Build rituals of mutual honesty. A monthly state-of-the-heart check-in, a shared document where you both write the sentences you're practicing, a regular space where advice is off-limits and witnessing is the only currency. When communities normalize congruence, relapse in the fog loses its social perks and its private thrill. You won't want the old game. The new game is kinder and, quietly, far more fun. Return often to why you began. Not because you doubt yourself, but because memory is a tender animal and needs feeding. Why truth? Because your body sleeps better. Because your laughter lasts longer. Because your work feels like craft, not scramble. Because the people who stay are the ones who can hold you when you stop juggling. Because the child in you finally believes you won't leave mid-sentence. Write your whys and tuck them into your wallet, your phone, your coat. In the moment you want to revert, hold one and breathe. The urge will pass. The promise can remain. And then give it away. The most stabilizing force for a Gemini in recovery from self-fog is service. Teach a small workshop on honest emails. Host a circle where people practice saying one clean no. Mentor someone on making decisions with a body check. The stories you once used to survive become tools other people use to live. There is nothing more coherent than that. The messenger would become, at last, the message clear, warm, and human. Conclusion. Gemini, you did not come here to be perfect. You came here to be true. The lies you tell yourself were never sins. They were shelters you built with bright hands on stormy nights. Today, you know which ones can come down. Brick by gentle brick. You are replacing them with windows, with doors, with a table where your mind, your body, your heart, and your future can sit and eat the same meal. You'll still feel the old impulses, the urge to say, I'm fine, the itch to keep every road open, the reflex to entertain when you ache. Let those impulses ring like distant bells. They are weather, not warnings. Place a hand on your chest and speak the new sentences you authored. I am functioning and feeling. If I choose, I'll find depth. I am loved when I am honest. Feel how your breath obeys. That is coherence in the wild. And if this journey has moved something in you, leave a line for the rest of us. What story are you retiring? What truth are you practicing this week? Your sentence might be the North Star in someone else's fog. If you want more work like this, like and subscribe so we can keep walking together. Two twins becoming one voice that we can live with tomorrow.